Hi everyone and welcome to Bonnie Astrology. Today we're discussing the new moon in Virgo, which is happening on either the 2nd or the 3rd of September, depending where you are in the world, and of course what it means for your zodiac sign. As always, if you do enjoy this video, you can give it a thumbs up to let me know that you like it. It really helps the algorithm. And please do subscribe to the channel for regular astrology updates from me. And if you want to follow my socials or contact me, all the information listed in the description box below is the only place that you can get me. So let's have a look at this new moon in Virgo. Virgo season always marks a transitional period, a transition from one season to another. Whether you're in the northern or the southern hemisphere, it represents a changing of the seasons. And so we start to look forward to what the next chapter has in store for us. A new moon in Virgo is all about a new beginning, setting intentions that are rooted in detail, that are rooted in practical logic. So having clear steps in mind of what it is that we want to do or what it is that we want to achieve. Virgo is a sign that is associated with the details, and Mercury will be direct at the time of this new moon, albeit in shadow. Mercury is the ruler of Virgo and it will be in the sign of Leo. So we may be setting intentions that are rooted in what is fun for us, what we enjoy, what makes us happy when we are thinking about what it is that we're wanting to begin at this time. It is worth noting though that Mercury is going to come into a square, the third of a set of 3 squares with Uranus. The last 2 happened on the full moon in Aquarius and the full moon in Capricorn in August and July. So you might be noticing that in the days after this new moon there could be some surprising information or news comes to a head that may impact what it is that you're wanting to do or what it is that you're wanting to achieve with this new moon, or whatever is beginning at the time of this new moon. Because sometimes with new moons it just so happens that we are setting the intentions internally, but it can also manifest externally as someone new entering the picture, something new entering the picture, or a new beginning that leads to greater change. Remember, the mutable signs are all about rolling with change and embracing change. So when we think about Virgo, we think about work and we think about wellness. Those are the 2 main themes that come up when we have a new moon in Virgo. So a lot of people might actually be starting new jobs in September or decide they want to look for new jobs in September. Oftentimes with Saturn being in retrograde, because Saturn tends to rule our professional life, or Saturn does rule our professional lives, so it will depend on your individual chart. While Saturn's in retrograde, a lot of people are rethinking what they want to do professionally, rethinking what they would like to achieve and what they would like to be working on. And oftentimes when Saturn's in retrograde, we can start to pause and things can move a little bit slower. It's maybe hard to hear back from employers. It's maybe harder to get as many clients as you usually do. And so with Saturn in an aspect to this new moon, Saturn's in opposition to this new moon, I think this may be a fresh start for a lot of people professionally and work-wise, whether that be the job that you do, the services that you provide, the role that you play. A lot of people are going to be thinking more long-term about what would work for them professionally. And again, with Mercury being in the sign of Leo, it may be what brings you joy, what brings you fun, or what you love to do. You know, you can work very hard at something that you love to do. Both can coincide together. It doesn't all have to be so heavy, so to speak, with what it is that you do. A lot of people find that when they love what they do, time flies and they put a lot more into it, or they at least feel enthusiastic. And if it's not about loving what you do professionally, it may be loving what you do as a routine, what it is that you do with your day-to-day schedule. What it is that brings you a little bit of joy in your routine, what can light up the mundane. And for a lot of people as well, this can be a focus on health and wellness. With the new moon in Virgo, it gives this back to school theme. So a lot of folk may find themselves joining a gym or deciding that they want to go running or they want to go walking daily, or they want to eat better. They want to focus more on incorporating more fruits and vegetables, for example, and maybe being a little bit more particular about what it is that they're ingesting, what it is that they're putting into their body or onto their body, you know, cosmetics and things like that. People may become a little bit more particular and a little bit more picky and choosy about what they are using and what they are eating for the sake of their health and their well-being. Virgo new moons are oftentimes the best time for a clean slate. So whatever it is that is beginning around this time, it is important to pay attention to the detail. Although I will say the downside of Virgo energy is that it can be very, very critical, both of itself and others. and very perfectionistic, and perfection does not necessarily exist. So be careful of getting too bogged down in the detail. The details are absolutely important under a Virgo new moon, but don't necessarily focus so hard to the point it becomes an obsession. Because the opposition to Saturn, there is actually a reason that Saturn is the planet associated with the Devil Tarot card, and the Devil Tarot card is about obsession. So becoming obsessive about what it is that you're beginning or what it is that you want to do. With an opposition from Saturn, we need to achieve some balance. So Saturn, as I said before, is still in retrograde. This can be a time of reflection when it comes to our professional life, when it comes to our long-term commitments and long-term potentials, our long-term goals. But the opposition to Saturn is still calling for balance. So with this opposition to Saturn, with the new moon, Saturn being in Pisces, there's a need to balance out anything practical and logical with something intuitive and spiritual. It can sometimes be hard with oppositions to balance the two, but there is a meet in the middle energy. So with the new moon in Virgo, a lot of the time it gets missed that Virgo is associated with spell work. Virgo is a naturally witchy energy. So a lot of folk may find around this time that if you're wanting to set an intention, you may have some kind of ritual attached to that. Whether it is that you're lighting a spell candle, whether it is that you're doing a guided manifestation, whether it is that you are praying. There may be some sort of spiritual component to whatever new beginning you have in place, and it may also be rooted a bit in superstition. You may think, oh, I need to start this on a certain date. A lot of astrologers would obviously recommend that. Or it may be that you're thinking you have to do something a certain way in order for it to work. That can be the balance between the Virgo and Pisces energy. Some sort of spell work attached to this, some sort of mystical, magical energy with Saturn being in Pisces. The Sun-Saturn opposition, which happens once a year, is going to be happening on the 8th of September. So a few days after this new moon, you might notice that this is when you're feeling the most focused on your commitments, though it can bring some sort of test or some sort of trial right off the bat to what it is that is being initiated at the time of this new moon, what you are beginning, whatever goals you have in mind. Sometimes Saturn oppositions, and a lot of Virgo suns will be feeling around this. If you're feeling this month, if you're born around the 7th, 8th or 9th, you might be noticing that there's a lot of obstacles to what it is that you're trying to achieve. Virgo is not a sign that shies away from hard work, so may navigate this energy quite well. But whether this is that you have, oftentimes with Saturn transits, more authority, more responsibility, whether that is because you become self-employed, whether that is because you have a baby, whether that is because you buy a house, there oftentimes comes more authority and more responsibility. And this can sometimes feel frustrating, and it can sometimes slow you down with other things. So for all of us with the Saturn-Sun opposition, there can be tests from authority, there can be tests from bosses, employers, parents. It can feel like a tug of war with someone in a position of authority, or it can just feel like a tug of war when it comes to our goals. And this is a call for more hard work and persistence, even if that feels fruitless. A lot of the time we think with Saturn that something is becoming more and more out of reach, but actually with Saturn, Saturn does not deny, Saturn delays to make sure that you're ready for it. Saturn is associated with karmic timing. So Saturn oftentimes delays things that if we got when we wanted them, we would ruin them or generate some sort of negative karma for ourselves by our actions. And there would probably be a lot of regrets with whatever it is that comes at the wrong time. So there's a need to be quite patient with this Saturnian energy. Whatever it is that you're starting at the time of this new moon, it might take a while to get there. It might take a while to come to fruition. Virgo season is associated with harvest, and it just so happens that the harvest moon this month is going to be an eclipse. So this new moon is leading us into eclipse season, and it's going to be the first eclipse in the Pisces Virgo set of 7 eclipses in these signs leading up to 2027. So if you're a Virgo or a Pisces sun, moon or rising, particularly the risings, buckle up, because there's some new storylines coming in for you. In fact, there's new storylines coming in for all of us, but of course when the eclipses fall in your sun, moon or rising sign, it often impacts you directly and changes your life in different ways. That obviously depends on numerous factors, but it just brings significant change. And as I said before, with the ruler of this new moon, Mercury, being in Leo, And in this applying square to Uranus, there could be some surprising information. So with this new moon, it's absolutely a wonderful time to set intentions. It's a wonderful time to begin something new, provided that you're committed to it in the long run, provided that you're going to put your all into it, but you're going to have healthy boundaries with Saturn. You're going to be willing to do the right thing with Saturn, but also that there may be some surprising information comes your way initially that you didn't expect. So as always, I'm going to pull a tarot card for this new moon in Virgo and see what comes up as a tarot message. Oh, Six of Wands. This is all about success and victory. I like this. A lot of folk are going to be focused on their goals, on what it is that they want to achieve, and what is going to bring them some success. You know, it's funny because the new moon being ruled by Mercury, and Mercury being in the sign of Leo, which actually corresponds to this tarot card. The Six of Wands is associated with Jupiter in Leo, but it's Leo energy nonetheless. This is the time when you're focused on what would bring you some notoriety, maybe as a leader, maybe as a persona. With this being a Leo card and Mercury being in Leo ruling this new moon, it's what's going to bring you some prestige, what's going to bring you some recognition, some success, some spotlight potentially, or some recognition for your showmanship. And really focusing on what could bring you a lot of joy and a lot of pride, being proud of yourself, being proud of what you've accomplished and what it is that you have achieved with this new moon in Virgo. I also think the downside of this, around the time of this new moon in Virgo, you might find in the days that follow or the days that surround it that there could be a lot of people on their high horse, a lot of people striving for victory. There could be a bit of competition going on. It could be that some folk are really, pride comes before a fall. So make sure that if you are putting yourself out there, you have a bit more of a humble mentality, because that Mercury square to Uranus could be quite humbling for a lot of people that are on their high horse, making sure that they have all the facts and all the information, and the truth fears no questions. So if you are putting yourself out there, just be mindful of that. But that is what I have for this new moon in Virgo. I hope you all have a wonderful new moon, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Aries, welcome to the new moon in Virgo for your sign. So Aries, this new moon offers an opportunity for a new beginning, a reset, or a fresh start when it comes to your work and your wellness. So a few ways this could be manifesting for you, Aries, is that some of you may be getting or applying for a new job under this new moon. You may decide that it is time for a change. You may decide that you want to begin something new when it comes to your work or the services that you provide. So for some of you, that might not necessarily be that you're changing your job, but you might be taking on a new role within it, or offering some kind of new service as part of your job. For others of you, this could be a focus on your health. You might be deciding that you want to join a gym, you want to get healthy, you want to get fitter, you maybe want to make changes to your diet or your routines in general. There could be a new start or a change with your routine because of external circumstances, but I think a lot of you might be deciding that you really want to prioritize and focus on your health under this new moon. And it might be best to think of it from the approach of what makes you happy. With Mercury in your 5th house, Mercury rules Virgo, so because it's in your 5th house, it might be that you're thinking about your health and your wellness with a sense of fun. What do you enjoy? What brings you pleasure? And how to do things that don't feel so mundane, but rather give you a bit of a spark. Particularly because Mercury is in a square to Uranus, you may be thinking more outside the box on the changes that you could make. But this new moon is opposite Saturn in your 12th house. So whether it is that you're starting a new job, or whether it is that you are starting a new wellness routine or practice, whatever you're beginning under this new moon or where you're shifting your attention, it feels as though, Aries, you're doing it or committing to it through the guise of what is best for your mental health. With Saturn in the 12th house, it's oftentimes a period where we get quite serious about our mental health and well-being. It can be a time where we're looking inward, we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes, working on ourselves behind the scenes, maybe trying to work through some patterns or break some patterns in our lives, deal with some emotional disappointments from the past, or maybe emotional disappointments that you're going through. Oftentimes it's a bit of a clearing house energy. So whether it is that you're beginning, you're joining a gym, whether it is that you're starting a new job, it's important to factor in your commitment to your mental health and well-being, or your alone time and your time to rest and reflect. For a lot of you, if you're starting a new job, maybe this is something that you're doing remotely, or you're starting a new role within your work that is behind the scenes with Saturn being in the 12th house, or you might be deciding to look for a new job and keeping that private. There is an element of privacy involved here, and there's an element of solitude and working behind the scenes and retreat and really keeping your mental health in check. So I think for a lot of you, say for example, you were joining a gym or signing up with a personal trainer, you might be signing up with someone who puts a good bit of focus on your mental health and your spiritual health as well, spiritual well-being. Or maybe some of you are wanting to commit to meditating every day, or you're wanting to maybe make changes, but make them quietly. Aries is something that I am seeing for you. At the time of this new moon, Mars, your ruler, is in a square to Neptune, and that can be like a fog of war. You might be a bit confused about what it is that you want to do exactly. You might be unsure on how to act. This aspect will really only be felt for a couple of days, so it will pass. You can still set your intentions, and you can still figure out what kind of changes that you want to make, but you don't necessarily have to do anything just yet. You might not be entirely sure what it is that you're going to do next, or you might just be feeling a bit foggy under the new moon. But as I say, this will pass. It can be a bit confusing as to what you need to do or how you need to do it, but this new moon is a 6-month. It has, you have 6 months until the next full moon in Virgo, which will be a lunar eclipse. So there will be significant changes happening in this area. And I would say it is good to set intentions for what is best for your health and what is best for your well-being under this new moon, because with that eclipse that's coming up, Venus will be retrograde in your first house. That eclipse in March 2025 is the one I'm referring to. So you will be at that time for sure prioritizing your health and well-being, and if you can get a good start now, it'll make it easier to roll with any changes that may be happening work-wise or health-wise in the spring of 2025. Your tarot card is the Four of Coins, which is the Four of Pentacles, material attachment. And this is where you may be noticing if you have a scarcity mindset, if you are maybe hoarding too much, if you're maybe holding too tightly, or being too focused maybe on what it is that you have, what it is that you possess under this new moon. Maybe you're setting the intention to declutter your space so that it's good for your routine. It'll be good for your routine if you know where everything is. You're not searching for it in a pile of mess every morning. So maybe some of you are decluttering, and maybe some of you are realizing that you need to open up, and you've become a bit of a creature of habit in some area of your life, Aries, and you're wanting to change it with that Mercury-Uranus square. That's what I have for you. Talk soon. Hi Taurus, welcome to the new moon in Virgo. This is what it means for your sign. So Taurus, this new moon is an opportunity for a new beginning, an opportunity for a reset, or an opportunity to plant seeds and set intentions when it comes to your 5th house of romance, pleasure, joy, creativity. So for a lot of you, it looks like under this new moon, you might be setting the intention to maybe date somebody. There could be a new romantic interest comes up under this new moon. You might be deciding to get back into dating. Some of you could be having a reset with someone that you've dated before, because we had the Mercury retrograde back in August and Venus going through your 5th house in August. So there could have been past connections came to the fore, or you might just be deciding under this new moon what it is that you want romantically from your dating life, or maybe you're manifesting some romance into your life, whether you're available or not. And if you're in a relationship, it might be that you're wanting to bring more romance into the connection, maybe date more, plan more activities together. And if it's nothing romantic, as it well may not be, it could be, Taurus, that you're beginning a new creative project under this new moon. It could be that you're focusing on your art, focusing on something new creatively, a creative project, starting a new hobby that you really enjoy. And it could just be that you're wanting to incorporate more fun and joy into your life, Taurus, under this new moon. It could be as well that for some of you, you're deciding that you want to start a family. You're maybe wanting to conceive with this new moon being in the 5th house. And that's entirely possible because a lot of you are getting quite focused on the future with Saturn in the 11th, and Mercury, the ruler of this new moon, is in the 4th of family. So with Saturn being in the 11th house, Saturn tends to bring a lot of serious energy wherever it goes, and that can bring additional responsibility. It can bring strong commitments, but it can also bring some aloofness and coldness sometimes wherever it goes. So maybe you're wanting to attend a party, or you're wanting to join a club, or you're wanting to start a new hobby, Taurus, but it could be that with Saturn in the 11th, maybe your usual friends are not available to do so. Or it could be that you're going to have to put yourself out there in order to make new friends. I will say I have found that Saturn going through the 11th tends to bring more solid friendships into your life. You know, if you sort of go through the social butterfly phase where you have a lot of friends, but they're not really friends, they're more acquaintances, Saturn going through the 11th tends to bring you the type of people that are a bit more ride or die, I've noticed, and it does tend to as well maybe bring some karmic friendships that are there for a lesson rather than a blessing, or it can crumble old friendships as well, or bring distance with friendships. So as I say, you might be wanting to start a new hobby or a club or a creative endeavor, but you might not necessarily have the people to do it with. Or it could be that if you're doing this, you're going to meet people that could be friends for life. Some of you might decide that someone you viewed as romantic is actually maybe more of a friend. Or it could be that some of you might be thinking about maybe moving a friendship to a romantic relationship, and this could be something to navigate or a transition, Taurus. But I think for a lot of you, you're very serious about the future. Now, with Mercury ruling this new moon and being in your 4th house, it could as well be that this creative hobby or endeavor that you're wanting to do from home with Mercury in the 4th, or you're maybe thinking, well, I don't have the friends to do this with, maybe a family member wants to do it with me, or maybe you're wanting to do a creative project within your house, you know, make an art room or create from your bedroom, maybe start a YouTube channel from your bedroom or something like that. It is in a square to Uranus in your 1st house, so you're probably feeling kind of innovative and wanting to shake things up a little bit, Taurus, as well. But all in all, this new moon can bring new romance into your life. It can bring a new creative hobby, a new passion, or some of you might be deciding you want to get pregnant under this new moon, or finding out that you're pregnant under this new moon. Really, new moons are about setting intentions and setting goals for the future. Your tarot card was the Fool as well, Taurus, which is funny because the Fool is Uranus, and we have Uranus in your 1st house. Maybe you're wanting to do something spontaneous, but with Saturn in the 11th, you don't have people that can be spontaneous with you. Maybe you're wanting to take an opportunity, step into the unknown, do something spontaneous, carefree, adventurous. This really feels like Mercury squaring Uranus. You're wanting to do something out of the ordinary, do something innovative and something that maybe you've not done before, Taurus, or shake things up a little bit. Maybe you're craving some freedom under this new moon as well. That is what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Gemini, welcome to the new moon in Virgo for your sign. So Gemini, this new moon is happening in your 4th house. So this is your sector of home, family life, property matters, your living situation, the people that live in your home. And it can also be to do with the past, your ancestry, your lineage and your heritage. So we have a new moon here, and new moons are always opportunities for new beginnings. It's a time to set new intentions, and it's a time for a reset as well, particularly because the ruler of this new moon is Mercury, and Mercury for most of August was in retrograde. Mercury, of course, being your ruler as well. You may have been quite reflective on what home and family mean to you. So for a lot of you, there could have been miscommunication with a family member. There could have been miscommunication around a property or a living situation that could have been quite frustrating. But maybe now you're just rethinking how that works. Maybe you're rethinking a property matter with your family, a shared occupation. It could be that perhaps some of you are rethinking your living arrangements, who's living with you, who you're living with, where you want to live, what you want the space to look like. The interesting thing about this is that there is a component of work associated with your home at this time, Gemini. So maybe for some of you, you're wanting to you're wanting to bring some of your work home with you, or you're wanting to make your home more conducive to working. So maybe you're wanting to renovate your home office or create a home office or a working space, or it doesn't even have to be work, it can be a goal. You're wanting to create space to work on your goals at home. Maybe that could be a home gym for some of you, or maybe if it could be a place to do your crafts, whatever it is that you like to do. It feels as though you're wanting to commit to making a bit of space for that, or it could be that you're working from home more. Or you're committing to some sort of work within the home. This new moon is in an opposition to Saturn. That doesn't become exact until the 8th of September, but it feels as though you might be setting the intentions of making changes within the home or to a property or living situation to accommodate commitments work-wise, commitments and responsibilities that you have work-wise. You might be changing up your living space for that. I also think for some of you, it's worth mentioning that we are heading into eclipse season, and there's going to be a lunar eclipse in your 10th house. So I think for a lot of you, if you could make sure that your home is, conducive to working where you are, or being able to work on your goals from home, because your working situation, the work that you do, your public reputation, your public image could be changing and shifting quite a bit, especially from January. We have the first lunar eclipse in Pisces, your 10th house, this month, and I will have a video on that, and it will be mentioned in the September horoscopes. But the nodes will change signs in January, and then we have a lot. I think we actually have 7 eclipses overall happening for you, Gemini, in your sectors of home and career. So there's going to be a lot of significant shifts and changes right up until 2027 when it comes to this sector for you. So a lot of you are really thinking under this new moon of how to make your home a comfortable space where you want to live, or what you want it to look like, or who you want to live with, in order to accommodate the changes that may be coming in as well. One thing I will mention for you that is, not so much related to the new moon, but it is happening under the new moon, is that there's a square between Mars in your 1st house and Neptune, as well as an upcoming square between your ruler Mercury and Uranus. So that's familiar energy. The Mercury-Uranus square is happening on the 7th, and that can bring unexpected news, unexpected conversations. It did happen under the full moon in Aquarius and the full moon in Capricorn over the last 2 months. So this is the 3rd and final square, and Mercury is now direct. So there could be some more unexpected news or conversations or letters or correspondences coming in for you, Gemini, just to make you aware. But because of that, Mercury is ruling this new moon, some of you might just be feeling a little bit mentally unsettled. The Mars-Neptune square can also make it a little bit confusing about what it is that you have to do, what you should do. Don't act too impulsively or rashly around the time of this new moon, because you don't have all the facts yet, you don't have all the information. Do set your intentions, do decide, that you want an improvement in your living situation, or keep the ideas up there about what it is that you want to change. You don't have to take any action on the day of the new moon for it to be successful, particularly as the corresponding full moon is going to be an eclipse to this 6 months' time in March. So you might be thinking, Gemini, that you want to instantly knock down a wall, and you don't have to do it just yet. Maybe just focus on the intention of, I want to improve my home to accommodate my work, or I want to work more from home. Or maybe some of you are wanting to actually go into Airbnb, renting out a property space or something like that. Rent out your property or a property to other people to make money or get your cash flow going. A lot of you could be very focused on money in September with Mars moving into your 2nd house. Is something that could be happening, Gemini. Let's get you a tarot card for this new moon. So we have the 5 of Wands, which is about personality clashes and a little bit of competition or misunderstandings, which would make sense with the upcoming Mercury-Uranus square on the 7th. You might be finding that in the lead up to this new moon even the time from this new moon, that there's a bit of misunderstanding, a bit of miscommunication. You might be feeling opposed by somebody, or you might be finding that someone's a bit back and forth on the truth of the matter. So do be mindful that there can be opportunities for clashes around the time of this new moon. And if you're wanting to perhaps, have an important conversation, I would really leave it until after the 7th, because you might find there's some information comes to you that you didn't expect, or just because it is going to be kind of clashy and agitated out there. And I think with the Mars Neptune square as well, you might just be a little bit unsure of what's the right thing to do or the right thing to say if you're looking to be productive. Gemini. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Cancer, welcome to the new moon in Virgo for your sign. So Cancer, this new moon is going to be happening in your 3rd house, and new moons can present new opportunities. They can be a time to set new intentions for the future. They can be a time to begin something new or to have a reset in the area of life that this new moon is occurring. So for you, it's the 3rd house. So this can range from, it's a very versatile house. This can range from buying a car, getting a new car, selling a car, booking a short trip, taking a short trip, a reset in your relationship to a sibling or an extended family member, or maybe your neighbors, or getting more involved in your neighborhood. These can be areas where you're either experiencing a new beginning or a reset. And for some of you, this can be a writing project that you're taking up. For others of you, it could be that you're wanting to simply learn something new or feed your mind. Maybe for some of you under this new moon, you get given a really good book that changes your outlook, that changes your perspectives. For a lot of you, this could be that you're wanting to learn more about something or take a short course, maybe with the intention of getting into college or university. So for some of you, this can be a back to school kind of energy where you're doing a course, sitting an exam, taking a test that will get you to the next higher up level. The reason I say this, Cancer, is because we have Saturn in your 9th house, and oftentimes this coincides to getting a degree, going to university, going to college, getting a master's. It can be where you're getting some sort of certification or something like that. Because Saturn is opposing this new moon, it feels like it's a big commitment, whatever it is that you're doing, and you might have to start one thing to get to the next bigger thing with Saturn. You're very committed to whatever it is that you're doing. Maybe for some of you, you're selling a car so that you can go travel instead. Or maybe for some of you, you're going to decide you want to relocate, so you're learning a new language or something like this. Taking the first step on a bigger journey can be something that's happening for a lot of Cancerians at this time. But you'll be very curious, your mind will be very active. You'll want to learn more. Some of you might actually find that you're getting more involved or more active in the neighborhood or the community that you're in, and you're getting to use your skills to be more proactive in your local environment. Or you could be discovering something new within your environment that you can actually, for some reason or another, so say for example you learn that there's a new coffee place, you start going to this new coffee place and you really bond with this person who is maybe from a different country, and then you start to learn about their experience and you think, well, actually I'd kind of like to move there. Saturn being in the 9th, it can be that a little new beginning locally leads to greater changes or commitments, maybe to something globally, or in terms of your education, or just in terms of your world view, your spiritual view, your spiritual perspectives, Cancer. I know that sounds quite out there, but it can be really interesting to see how this unfolds for you, happening in 2 houses that are so much to do with our worldview and our perspectives and how we think and what we believe. So those are some ways that this can play out for you, Cancer. But I think you're going to be feeling really curious. And interestingly enough as well, Mercury, the ruler of this new moon, is going to be in your 2nd house. So this can be something that does require you to spend money or something you invest in. But it's in a square to Uranus in your 11th house. So it feels as though maybe the people around you think what you're investing your money in or spending your money on, or what your new values are, kind of out there or unusual or kind of crazy. Or there can be unexpected communication coming up when it comes to money or financial matters, Cancer, at the time of this new moon or around this new moon. That square isn't exact until the 7th. So the unexpected energy and communication can come out around then. But it's just worth noting that it's a flavor of this new moon as it rules the new moon. We also have this Mars-Neptune square going on, so if you're not exactly sure what it is that you need to do under this new moon, or you're feeling particularly tired That's why it's okay. It's good to set intentions. And with Virgo, it's good to be detailed, but it doesn't mean that we can't change our minds later, or it doesn't mean that we have to start or initiate anything right away. We can set the intention and not necessarily be so sure of the how. So don't feel forced to make anything happen under this new moon, Cancer. Give it a little bit of time with that Mars-Neptune square. So let's pull you a card. So you have the Sun. That's beautiful energy. That's very optimistic and positive. Some of you may be thinking more about your mindset and perhaps committing to more positive thinking, to be more optimistic, to have a brighter outlook on life, because the third house is about how we think. It's about the mind. And for some of you, you might also be taking a short trip or planning a short trip to refresh yourself under this new moon, Cancer. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Leo, welcome to the new moon in Virgo for your sign. So Leo, new moons bring opportunities for new beginnings, to set new intentions, or to have a reset in whatever area of life they're falling in for us. For you, it's pretty financial. It's to do with your wealth. It's to do with your money. It's to do with your possessions, your values, how you make money, the money that you make, your income basically, and just financial affairs in general. So this is a good time to get organized, to pay attention to your finances. Mercury, the ruler of this new moon, was in this sector early August, and the retrograde may have had you reflecting on how you make money, your financial affairs, maybe looking into what you're spending your money on, your relationship to money, your relationship to your possessions, values, that type of thing. Could have been a source of reflection, contemplation for you, Leo. I think for a lot of you, you could have been rethinking how you make money. So maybe under this new moon, you're doing something new. You have a new source of income. Maybe some of you, your income is changing with your job, whether that's an increase or a decrease. But I think for a lot of you, you're going to be focusing on how you make money, the type of money that you're earning, but also if it's nothing to do with finances, Leo, although I think for a lot of you it can be, because you may be wanting to invest more in yourself. Mercury rules this new moon, it's in your first house of self. Some of you might be wanting to invest more money into yourself. But you do have, very serious financial obligations for a lot of you to other people. So this isn't going to apply to everybody, but for a lot of you, Leo risings in particular, with Saturn in the 8th house, you might be wanting to clear out debt. You might be very serious on paying off debt. Some of you might be very serious about joint financial relationships with a partner. You could have a mortgage you're paying off with somebody else. You could owe someone money and you're having to pay off that. Or it can be that for a lot of you, in joint financial relationships, there's maybe some harsh lessons, there's maybe some things to negotiate, some things to work through that can be lengthy processes. And that can be affecting your money. So maybe under this new moon, you're deciding, okay, well, I want to make more money this way. I have this talent, I can use it to do this. There's a serious tone about this. So I think a lot of Leo risings could be getting quite serious about their financial situation, particularly when it comes to money with other people. If you're connected to other people financially, if you have debt, if you have, bills to pay, things like that, to other people, you might be very serious about maybe wanting to make a bit more so that you're not noticing that so much. And it can be as well that Saturn in the 8th house energy is about fear. So maybe fear of money, fear of any financial fears. You might be setting new intentions on how to work through those as well. And for some of you with this new moon in the 2nd house, you could also just be thinking about the stuff that you have. Maybe you're wanting to make a purchase. There's something that you need, maybe from an aesthetic perspective, Leo, with Mercury in the 1st. It's worth mentioning as well that Mercury is going to square Uranus, not until the 7th, but Mercury is in an applying square to Uranus at the time of this new moon. So with Mercury squaring Uranus and Uranus being in your 10th house, it kind of feels for a lot of you, Leo, like you might be surprising someone career-wise with a career move. This might be how you're making money. It could be that there's some surprising information or news coming to you when it comes to career. Maybe there's been some back and forth conversations or ideas with you about career, or with a boss or with an employer, or just with your own reputation or public image. You've maybe been a bit back and forth with what you want to do, how you want to do it, how you want to express yourself. Should you say this? There could be misunderstandings going on between you and someone at work. And there could be a final, shock or surprise at play. I just have to mention it when it comes to that, with that leading up under the time of this new moon. I just wanted to mention that there can be a bit of a surprise coming as well there that maybe changes your financial situation, or maybe it changes your values or what matters to you or what you're prioritizing, Leo. That can, be important for you as well. So your tarot card that came out, it actually just flew out before I even had a chance to pull it out, Leo, was the Two of Cups, but it was in reverse. So I kind of feel like when it comes to relationships, but especially with Saturn in the 8th, some of you could be addressing any unhealthy attachment styles to somebody else. I think for many of you this could be financially. That full moon in your sector of relationships was an absolute humdinger in August. So maybe some of you went through a breakup or a divorce or a separation, and you could be sorting out the finances when it comes to that. Or it could be that some of you are working through unhealthy attachment styles, codependency, seeking approval from other people, enabling other people, and you're healing. Maybe under this new moon, you're wanting to work on some unhealthy relationship dynamics as well at the time of this new moon, Leo. That is what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Virgo, welcome to the new moon in your sign. Virgo, you're the star of the show under this new moon. As new moons are always a time to set new intentions, they can bring new opportunities, new beginnings, or a reset wherever they fall in your chart. And for you, this is your first house of self. So there's a number of things going on under this new moon. The first thing is that with the opposition to Saturn, it's likely that whatever personal goals you're beginning under this new moon, they are going to be rooted in dedication and commitment, and there could be quite a bit of hard work involved, maybe a little bit of sacrifice involved as well, Virgo. I think for a lot of you, particularly as we're heading into eclipse season, and this eclipse season is pretty significant for you because we're going to have an eclipse in your 7th house, and it's the first in a series of 7 eclipses in your first house, 7th house axis. And that's going to be going on until 2027. So with this new moon being in your sign, it's a great time to set new intentions on being the best version of yourself, being your healthiest, both in terms of maybe, your wellness practices, what you do on the daily, or just your relationship to yourself being at its most healthy place as well. It can be something that you might be focusing on, Virgo, under this new moon. With the new moon being in your sign, perhaps it is that you're simply getting a refresh aesthetically, getting a haircut, buying some new clothes, making some new purchases, maybe some cosmetics or a new perfume or something to just make you feel your best. But I think for a lot of you, it's a personal goal. So some of you might be getting quite into looking after your health, looking after your body, and wanting to do what is best for you. I also think for a lot of you, this can be, with your ruler Mercury being retrograde for most of August, not only in your first house of self, but in your 12th house of healing and letting go in the unconscious. A lot of you have really been reflecting when it comes to how you think and how you communicate, reflecting your relationship to yourself and how you talk to yourself and how you think about yourself and how you talk about yourself. And maybe noticing some unhealthy patterns or tendencies that you'd like to let go of, you'd like to release with Mercury being in the 12th, so that you can have a better relationship with yourself. And your relationship to yourself is quite important, Virgo, because you may be focusing on interdependence within relationships in general, having healthy boundaries, having good standards of what you expect from yourself, but also what you expect from others in relationships. Because certainly with Saturn going through your 7th house, and also the fact we have an eclipse coming up in your 7th house, making sure that you're choosing partnerships, whether that be romantically, socially, business-wise, that are healthy and have solid boundaries and commitments in place, making sure that your relationships are workable or that they work is a big part of your Saturn in the 7th journey. And it could be that perhaps some of you are focusing on your relationship to yourself so that you can have healthier relationships, or perhaps some of you are maybe, I'm not saying changing yourself for other people, but perhaps changing your approach to relationships so that you have something that works for you too. Because Saturn going through the 7th house is going to bring a lot of tests to your relationship life. It's an area of life that has oftentimes with Saturn, a split or commit energy. That's why sometimes you see people when Saturn goes through their 7th house, they get a divorce while other people get married, or other people meet a serious love relationship. It tends to bring about a serious tone, and it's looked at through the lens of, can this work? Or can I commit deeper to this, or should I let it go kind of energy? And again, that can be to do with romantic relationships, but it can also be business partnerships as well. So under this new moon, you're really thinking about your relationship to yourself and perhaps how that plays into your commitments with other people. Again, looking at it from this lens of, is your approach interdependent, where you've good, strong, healthy boundaries, you know yourself, you know what you need in relationships, or is it codependent, where you're sort of, maybe not navigating it so healthily, there's attachment issues, there's a need for approval, that kind of thing. It's sort of viewing your approach through that. So focusing on a really strong relationship to yourself, Virgo, will be great in the long run for these eclipses that are coming up. One thing I also want to mention is that Mars and Neptune are in a square at the time of this new moon. And although they're not aspecting the new moon, I just wanted to mention this. It can bring a bit of confusion on how to act or what to do. And for you, Virgo, with Mars being in your 10th house and Neptune being in your 7th, you could be a bit confused about what to do when it comes to a business relationship, your relationship to an authority figure, your boss. There can be a conflict going on that you're not sure how to navigate at work. You could think someone is trying to bait you into an argument, but they might actually not be. With Mars and Neptune in a square, if you have a boss, they could be acting kind of confusing. There could be some hiccups and miscommunications. It's not the best day, to be honest, around the new moon to take significant action career-wise. Do watch for leaving, taps on, or just a bit of confusion. I say taps on because Mars square Neptune can sometimes bring about issues with water. For you, this could be in the workplace, so just be mindful of that. There could be some issues happening at work that are a bit confusing and you're not sure what to do about them, or someone could be acting a bit strangely and you're not sure what to do about that either, Virgo, to be honest, under this new moon. But it's separate to the new moon. It's still a good time for you to set intentions for yourself and figure out your goals and how you want to take better care of yourself, and what you would like to achieve, and what kind of person you would like to be in your relationships, and how you'd like to show up to them, and how you would like them to show up for you, Virgo. So we have the 7 of Pentacles as your tarot card. This one says good things take time. So you're really looking at life through a long-term view. For some of you, there could be a harvest coming up. Obviously, you're the sign associated with harvest. We have a harvest moon coming up that is actually coinciding with the eclipse. I think for a lot of you, you're wanting to set goals for yourself that may take time. So if it's health-wise, if it is aesthetic, if it is a personal goal, it's going to take time. You're going to have to be dedicated. You're going to have to persevere. But I also think at the same time, there could be something coming to fruition for you in September as well, Virgo. And for some of you, it could be attending some sort of harvest event, because the lady in this is holding a basket of apples. So for some of you, it could be an actual harvest event, or maybe going apple picking or something nice like that. That is what I have for you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Libra, welcome to the new moon in Virgo for your sign. So Libra, this new moon is happening in your 12th house. Now, the 12th house is a place of endings, and it's a place of letting go, whereas new moons are about new beginnings and fresh starts and initiating. So when you have a new moon in the 12th house, a lot of the time it can feel somewhat contradictory, in that you can be beginning a process of letting go of something. This might be that you're letting go of some sort of behavior or some sort of pattern in your life that is sabotaging you for whatever reason. So whether that is something you're eating, something you're drinking, something you're doing, something you're thinking. Was that a poem? I think it was. But whatever the case may be, Libra, it's basically anything that is holding you back. You might be getting kind of serious about it, or very serious about it, thanks to the opposition to Saturn in your 6th house. Because when Saturn's in your 6th house, it can bring a real sense of responsibility and commitment when it comes to your health, and when it comes to your well-being, when it comes to looking after yourself. So for a lot of you, this could be a case where you're thinking, okay, I'm going to begin the process of letting go of some behaviors, some things that I do, some things that I any self-sabotaging behavior, which may ironically be something that was originally self-soothing but is now self-sabotaging. So a lot of you might be letting go of something that you do, something that you eat, something that you drink, something that you take, something that you do routinely that is not working for you anymore, or you feel maybe bringing negative consequences to your door. So that could be the case for some of you. It could be very health focused. For others of you, it may be that you're realizing that you need to let go when it comes to something you do work-wise, when it comes to your job, when it comes to a role that you play. A lot of the time with the 12th house, it can be where, you have some blind spots effectively. So maybe you're letting go of a job because you just don't know what's coming next. Maybe you're letting go of a particular role because you feel like it is a poison chalice, so to speak. A lot of you could be letting go of something that just doesn't work for you work-wise as well, to bring in something new. Now, for a lot of you, this could actually be that you are beginning a project behind the scenes with people you work with, or you're beginning some sort of self-improvement journey behind the scenes that you don't want to tell anybody about. I think for a lot of you, you could be perhaps deciding you need to spend some time alone, you need to go on a retreat, you need to look after yourself privately, whatever that might mean for you. But it can be a focus on alone time, it can be a focus on your spiritual journey, or it can be a focus on taking some time for your mental health, or making a greater commitment to your mental health and your mental well-being, Libra. With the ruler of this new moon being in your 11th house, this can be something that you're doing with friends or doing with a group of people. Maybe some of you are going on a spiritual retreat, for example. Or for others of you, it can be that perhaps you're letting go of a group or a friendship that is no longer working for you, or is just not meant to be in the next chapter, Libra. That can be something else that's coming up. Let's get you a tarot card. We have the King of Cups, but you actually got two because the Nine of Swords flew out. So some of you, I think, around this time, you might want to, as part of your new moon intentions, set up a sleep schedule or focus on better sleep. The 12th house is to do with sleep, and the Nine of Swords is the image of a woman sitting up in bed because she can't sleep. She's having nightmares, night terrors. Some of you might be experiencing that at this time, and especially with the King of Cups, they could be very vivid dreams. It could be something that you're drinking before bed for a lot of you, but it might just be that you're focused under this new moon on having some sort of nighttime routine, making your bedroom a safe haven, anything to improve the energy so that you're getting higher quality sleep, because that might improve where you're at physically quite substantially, with Saturn being in the 6th house. That's what I have for you, Libra, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Scorpio, welcome to the new moon in Virgo for your sign. So Scorpio, you might be finding under this new moon that you're making new friends. There could be a new friendship group coming into your life. You could be joining a team, you could be joining a group, you could be joining a community, you could be joining a network. Under this new moon, it could be quite social for you. So you might have the opportunity to be with a group of people. You might also just simply be setting the intention to be more social, to be more active with your groups, your community. You might be connecting with people who could be lifelong friends at this time, Scorpio, with this new moon being in the 11th house. And it might also be that you're just setting new goals for your future, new aspirations, new hopes, new wishes, a new way of viewing the great unknown of your future, basically. But it can be a very social time. It can be a time of connection. And with Mercury being retrograde in August, Mercury did a short stint in this sector in August in retrograde. It spent most of its time in your 10th house professionally, where you were rethinking your professional life. But it did have a time in Virgo where you may have reconnected with old friends, old social acquaintances, or you might just have reflected on what that means to you and what you'd like it to look like. So you could be setting the intention to be more social, for example, or you could be having a reset with a friendship, reconnecting with a friend or something like that. As I said before, Mercury did do a retrograde in your 10th house professionally as well. And Mercury will be direct at the time of this new moon, but still in your 10th house. So you might be making new friends through work. You might be making friends that you can work with. You might be networking for your job. You might be connecting with people who can help you professionally. Or just people who share the same goals. I always look at the 10th house and think of the mountains with the 10th house, because it's the tip top of our birth chart, and I think of those peaks. So for some of you, you might actually be deciding you're going to join a hiking group, for example, or a climbing group. But for a lot of you, it's just simply that you're connecting with people friendship wise who maybe share your same career goals, or even maybe could have some, they could be kind of a public figure, or they could have some fame or some recognition of their own. They could have some status that can really help you in career, really help pull you up. It's worth saying that these people with Mercury approaching its square to Uranus might not necessarily be the most predictable as business partners. I just want to mention that they could surprise you when it comes to anything new you're beginning with these people. They might think outside the box. They might be a little bit more surprising in their actions and their endeavors than you would think, and they might change your vision of what you want to do professionally too, if they are professional connections. So remain open-minded with them and make space around any plans that you're making with people under this new moon socially. Now, the new moon is in an opposition to Saturn. Saturn is in your 5th house, and the opposition to Saturn makes this a little bit more serious, so it adds to the sense of taking your goals very seriously, taking your future quite seriously. Saturn's in the 5th house, so it feels as though for a lot of you, you might really want to commit to doing something that is creative, something that is self-expressive when it comes to work, or it might be that you're making changes for your future because of your children, or because of your romantic life can be what's happening for some of you. So maybe some of you are workaholics and you're wanting to incorporate more romance into your life, so you're having to make time to date because you want romance in your future. Or for some of you, you're wanting to make changes professionally because you have children and you want to spend more time with them. That's where your commitments are. So that can be happening for some of you. For others of you that are not attached, and for others of you that, you know, don't have children, don't have romance, it can be that you're wanting to commit more to what makes you happy. It sounds kind of counterintuitive, Saturn in the 5th, but you can basically recommit to your heart, what makes you happy, what brings you joy. Even if Saturn is very serious and the 5th house is very fun, you can commit to fun. You can schedule it in at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, whatever it is, Scorpio. But effectively, I think for a lot of you, you're really, you know, building a new vision of the future for yourself, and you're taking it quite seriously, and you might have some professional help. So let's get you a tarot card, Scorpio, and see what comes up for you. Oh, interesting. We actually pulled so this deck has a full moon card on it. I pulled the full moon card for you, Scorpio. So I feel like the next full moon is going to be very significant for you. Of course, the next full moon is a lunar eclipse, so it would be significant for you. It's going to happen in your 5th house. So pay attention to your children, pay attention to your love life, pay attention to your creativity, Scorpio, because there could be something significant happening in those areas, and this new moon is the build up to that. So, you know, pay attention to your intuition, because there could be something very significant coming to you at the next full moon. You might be moving on from something, you might be completing something, and you might be getting more emotional awareness, or you're just maybe more in touch with your feelings under this particular lunation. I know that sounds very strange to get the full moon card for a new moon, so I'll just give you one clarifier. Don't tell anybody else. So we have the 4 of Wands. So for a lot of you, you might be celebrating union, you might be celebrating with family, you might be celebrating with friends. I think for a lot of you, you could be finding community in the lead up to the full moon. So that's what I have for you, Scorpio, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Sagittarius, welcome to the new moon in Virgo for your sign. So Sagittarius, the new moon is very professional for you. It's happening in your 10th house. So this can bring a new beginning professionally. This can bring a new job. This can bring a new role. This can bring a new goal. And if it's you know, it can be a goal even if it's not professional. So if you don't work, it doesn't have to be a job that you're starting. It can just be a long-term goal that you want to achieve in this lifetime, something you really want to put your mind to, something you're probably taking quite seriously. And it can be as well something that is going to give you some recognition, or something that is going to give you some exposure publicly, with this being in the 10th house. Now, the ruler of this new moon is in the 9th house for you, so it could be that some of you are starting a new job abroad, or you're working with people from abroad, working with people in different countries, working with people from different backgrounds. It can also be that you're connecting with people that you went to university or college with as well. It can be one way that this does manifest for you, Sagittarius. But I think for a lot of you, this is simply going to be a new goal for you, where you feel like you want to have quite a broad horizon. You feel like you want to explore a little bit, because maybe you feel kind of cooped up where you are, or, you know, for a lot of you, the opposition to Saturn in your 4th house, Sagittarius, is saying your greatest commitments, your greatest responsibilities are in the home and to family at the moment. You know, that might be because you started a family, that might be because you've bought a house, you're renovating a house, you're looking for a house. It could be because something's going on with a family member, but it's taking a lot of your time and energy and commitment and responsibility, with Saturn being there. So Saturn's opposing this new moon. And so with Saturn opposing this new moon, you might be thinking, okay, well, I have all these commitments at home, I have all these commitments to family, but, you know, what's my goal here? What am I trying to achieve as well? You know, where's the balance, basically? So with Mercury in the 9th house, I think for maybe some of you, you're thinking, well, I would quite like to take a travel opportunity with this job to get out of the house, or I would actually quite like to take this nighttime course so that I can get this diploma or this degree, so that I can get this job later. Some of you might be deciding that you're going to, you know, take a certification or start a course in order to further your career, and that can be part of a long-term goal. And you might just simply really want some time to explore outside of the home, some time to yourself to learn. You're a very curious and a very knowledge-oriented sign. The more that you learn, the more your energy feels like you, Sagittarius. So I think for a lot of you, you could be looking, you know, for jobs maybe abroad, or jobs that can connect you with different types of people, or jobs where you get to communicate with different types of people. Something that really takes you out of the house, something that really expands your horizon, or something that really makes you feel like you're learning. You know, you're always learning. I will say, with Mercury in an approaching square to Uranus in your 6th house, a lot of you could find that in trying to get out and about, it shakes up your routine a little bit more than you anticipated, or a little bit more than you expected, Sagittarius. But let's get you a tarot card and see what comes up. Okay, so we have the 10 of Pentacles, which is very appropriate for Saturn being in the 4th house. This can be where you're buying a home, you're focusing on your family legacy, your lineage, your estate. Matters surrounding those can be very important under this new moon. And of course, we're going to have an eclipse there. The next full moon is going to be a lunar eclipse in Pisces in your home and family sector. So there can be big changes when it comes to real estate, property. It can be to do with where you're living, family matters. So I think it would make sense under this new moon that you get as much, you know, what feels healthy for you in terms of a work-home life balance, having your own personal goals outside of the family, having your own personal goals when it comes to your job, having your own goals when it comes to what you're studying, what you are learning, and maybe higher education for some of you. The 9th house also does rule grandparents. So maybe for some of you, there's a new beginning with a grandparent or something like that, Sagittarius, as well. But that is what I have for you. I hope you have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Capricorn, welcome to the new moon in Virgo for your sign. So Capricorn, this new moon is happening in your 9th house. And this is a house that is all about new horizons when the new moon is there. So for a lot of you, you could be making travel plans under this new moon. You could be planning to take a trip. You could be planning to move. You could be planning to relocate. For some of you, you could be planning, though, to learn something new, to take a course, to start university, to start college. That would make sense as this new moon is happening in early September, so this can be for a lot of people a new beginning when it comes to education, Capricorn. But the ruler of this new moon, Mercury, is in your 8th house. So for a lot of you, what you could be studying or what you could be learning could be to do with psychology, it could be to do with the occult, it could be to do with banking, taxes, other people's money. So maybe some of you are thinking of studying something in those fields or those areas. Or it could just simply be that a lot of you are getting very curious about pattern recognition, about psychology, and your own, the stuff that you need to work on. So some of you could actually be deciding that you're going to start with a therapist, because the 9th house is very associated with experts. So maybe for some of you, you're finding the right person, someone you think would be quite wise, could help you learn about yourself, could help you dig through patterns. But for others of you, as I say, it could be you're wanting to study something when it comes to perhaps finances or psychology or the occult or something in the 8th house field. Capricorn, you'll be wanting to study about these. Maybe for some of you it's philosophy, but it could be to do with as well anything that really expands your mindset. You're very curious under this new moon to learn something new. Your ruler Saturn is in opposition with this new moon, and Saturn is in your 3rd house. So for some of you, you might feel like you want to study something new, but maybe you feel too old, or maybe you feel like you've missed that point of your life, that chapter of your life, or you're just maybe older than a lot of the people that you're studying with. You're maybe a mature student, or it can just be that you're feeling a little bit, with Saturn in the 3rd, you're very dedicated to learning something new, but it can sometimes bring about language barriers. It can sometimes bring about feeling mentally behind, maybe because of technology or something like that. It can just bring some obstacles or restrictions to what it is that you're learning at times, but it can also bring great commitment to learn, to study. It just tests your commitment from time to time. So you might have to, for example, if you're wanting to start a higher education course or you're wanting to learn something new, you might have to do a short course in the meantime to get there. So that can be something that's happening for you. For others of you, this can be if you're planning a trip, if you're planning some sort of exploration, some sort of adventure, Capricorn. It can be that perhaps you're maybe not finding it the easiest trip to take when it comes to figuring out the financial side of things, with Mercury ruling this new moon in the 8th house and squaring Uranus in the 5th. Maybe some of you aren't quite sure about the financial implications of this, or you're trying to get a grant, or you're not sure about funding for this. That can be funding for university as well. There can be a bit of confusion going on, or just a bit of a plot twist or a hiccup coming in when it comes to getting a grant, when it comes to getting a loan, or when it comes to, for some of you, baggage allowance, because the 8th house is to do with baggage. So if you are planning a trip, that could be something else that comes up to Capricorn. But with your ruler in the 3rd, I think a lot of you are really committed to, perhaps for some of you, learning a language to get to this country, or maybe for some of you it is commitment to learning something new, sharpening your mind, reading more, writing more, getting better technical skills. But I just get this sense with Saturn being in the opposition that maybe you're feeling like, oh, I just feel older than the other people here, or I feel older than the other students, or I'm going to be older than the other students, or I'm a bit behind in this, something like that, Capricorn. Your tarot card is the 8 of coins, which is all about dedication to the craft. So some of you are really dedicating yourself to something you want to learn, something you want to achieve, something that you want to master, Capricorn. And the clue with Virgo season is to pay attention to the details. That is what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Aquarius, welcome to the new moon in Virgo for your sign. So Aquarius, this new moon is happening in your 8th house. So there can be a new beginning, there can be a new opportunity, or there can be a reset in an existing matter when it comes to other people's money. So this can be to do with your taxes, this can be to do with your mortgage, a loan, something like that. Your partner's money. There can be changes going on here. So there can be a new beginning. So that can be something as simple as your partner getting a raise, your partner leaving a job and changing the financial situation. I think for a lot of you it is to do with a relationship. So if you don't have a relationship, I'll get to that in a second. But Mercury, the ruler of this new moon, is in the 7th house of partnerships, marriage, spouses. So it can be that your partner's money is changing. And this could be because of the approaching square between Mercury in your 7th house of relationships and Uranus in the 4th. This can change a living situation. This can, and you would probably already know that because Mercury has been in a square to Uranus twice already. But it can bring changes in a living situation, changes in the home. It can bring a bit of uncertainty when it comes to, what you're going to do with the home, what you're going to do with the living situation because of the Mercury-Uranus square. So maybe for some of you, for example, if you're leaving a relationship or you're ending a relationship, you're having to move homes or you're having to figure out the financial side of things. For others of you, if you're moving with a partner, you can be a little bit unsure about how you're going to split the costs or the finances, maybe because your partner's career is changing and so what they're making is changing or something like that. For others of you where it's nothing to do with a partnership, because that can be a business partnership too. There can be a change in a business partnership, what they're paying, what you're paying, the business relationship. For others of you, if it's nothing to do with that, Aquarius, it can be with the 8th house that you're perhaps beginning a new journey of psychological exploration. So working on your working through your baggage, committing to something baggage wise. You could be deciding you're going to see a therapist, you're going to see a counselor, you're going to see someone who can help you work through some patterns. The reason for this is that the 7th house where Mercury is can be one-on-one connections, where you're connecting with a therapist one-on-one and sharing your baggage with somebody else. This can also be, if it's not that, just perhaps bringing more intimacy and vulnerability into your relationship. And I will say that if you're seeing a psychologist or a therapist or anything like that, or you're sharing, it can trigger some stuff from the past with Uranus being in the 4th house. It can trigger some memories from childhood, memories from family dynamics, or just, maybe it could, in some cases, shake up a bit of family communication. It's kind of a given, Aquarius, that sometimes if you're looking into the past, it can sometimes annoy you about something all over again. So just be mindful of that. You might notice as well where other people have actually been projecting on to you and you're feeling a little bit like, this is something you want to work through because you're recognizing this pattern. Saturn is in an opposition to this new moon in the 8th house. So for a lot of you with these changes that are going on, you're having to focus on being more financially responsible. With Saturn being in the 2nd house, it can sometimes be where you feel you have to put more limitations and boundaries and budgets on yourself than usual when Saturn transits the 2nd. It can be where you get more financially serious, but sometimes that can mean as well that you do save more money because you're committing to being more responsible. For others of you, it can be that you're really working on your self-worth and really working on your values and self-confidence in a way that is sustainable and long-term for you, Aquarius. So you're getting very clear on what your priorities are, what truly matters, and you're probably downsizing your life quite a bit. Some people do that intentionally when Saturn goes through the 2nd, and sometimes it's actually just inadvertent. With Uranus in your 4th, it might be because you're moving or you're renovating and you're having to declutter constantly or get rid of a lot of material possessions as you go. So I think for a lot of you, Aquarius, you could be downsizing, you could be letting go of some stuff, you could be selling some stuff, you could be trying to take a more minimalist approach to life. And I think that would be really good with this new moon in the 8th so that you can make space to work through any psychological baggage or emotional baggage that you might be carrying and sort of have a reset and a clean slate there. It is a good time to find somebody who can help you work through these things, or as I say, it could be that you're maybe in a new relationship or maybe having reconnected to an old relationship. You have some room to be vulnerable and to share with another person, Aquarius. That can be something that's happening for you too. But I do think the idea of being very dedicated and committed to not only your finances, but your self-worth and your self-confidence and your self-esteem. You know, the second house is all about value, whether that is what you own or whether that is what you have on the inside. It can be that you're really getting very committed to making sure that you're in the best place when it comes to your relationship to yourself, and then that can be a really good foundation for you to connect to other people in a more vulnerable sense. So let's get you a tarot card, Aquarius. We have the Lovers, of course. So for a lot of you, this could be about connecting with someone more deeply. This can be about relationship changes, relationship choices, and connections. So some of you could be, for example, if you are seeing a therapist, working through attachment issues, codependency issues, or you could just be at this time perhaps connecting deeper with someone that you're in a relationship with, Aquarius. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Pisces, welcome to the new moon in Virgo. For you Pisces, this new moon is happening in your 7th house of relationships. So for a lot of you, this could be a new relationship entering your life, or it could be a reset in a current relationship, a new beginning within a personal relationship. So for some of you, that could be a new romantic relationship. For some of you, it could be a new business partnership. And for some of you, it could be a new client. Whatever the case may be, Pisces, it feels as though this is somebody that you may meet or connect with through work, because Mercury is in the 6th house at the time of this new moon. It might be somebody that you meet in your daily routine, someone providing you a service. It could be meeting someone through a work event. It could be meeting somebody through the gym. It could be meeting someone through working on your health. You could meet them at the doctor's office. The 6th house is also to do with pets, so you could be going to like a doggy daycare or something like that and meet somebody there. But you could definitely meet someone through yours or their workplace. With Mercury being at the 6th house at the time of this new moon, and it could be as well that this is something that is quite an unexpected conversation, because Mercury is approaching a square to Uranus in your 3rd. So you could hear from this person unexpectedly or connect with this person and sort of talk about very unusual things and sort of hit it off that way. There could be an element of hearing from someone you didn't expect to hear from, or it could be that perhaps you just connect on things you didn't expect to connect on, Pisces. So for a lot of you, this could be a new business partnership with Mercury being in the 6th house, working with someone in a working capacity one-on-one. Or for others of you, it could be meeting a new romantic relationship through 6th house matters, such as work, health, fitness, wellness, those type of things. The pretty significant part of this new moon is that Saturn in your sign is opposing the new moon. So when it comes to you, Pisces, whatever relationship you're starting, whether or resetting as well, that can be a thing that happens. It can be that perhaps there's been communication difficulties with somebody that you work with, or somebody that you see on a day-to-day basis. Say in your daily routine, for example, there's maybe been some hiccups and miscommunication. This can be a reset in the relationship where you work through it and you connect, or you have a reconnection with Mercury having been retrograde in August. But I think for a lot of you, with Saturn being in your 1st house, your commitment and your responsibility is to yourself. And you're taking yourself quite seriously. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but when it comes to relationships, I feel like a lot of you might be quite, and this is no bad thing, you might be very mature and very choosy when it comes to who you're letting in your life or who you're keeping in your life. And that goes to all areas of life, not just relationships with romantic partners or business partners. That extends to everywhere else too, Pisces. But you're taking yourself very seriously. You're becoming very aware of who you are and what you have to offer. So I think you're probably only picking people in your life or bringing people into your life where you feel like you can be your best self and you feel like you can perhaps benefit from these relationships in the long run. It's quite serious, and that might sound very matter of fact, of like, well, of course that's what you should do in relationships, but with Neptune having been in your 1st house since 2011, there's definitely been times where you've been boundaryless, and there's been times where you have been very rose tinted, and Saturn is more realistic. So Saturn is saying, okay, well, what works for me? What works for my life? And what is good for me in the long run from a relationship perspective, Pisces. So let's get you a tarot card and see what comes up. Oh, we got the Lovers for you too. Interesting, we got that for Aquarius. So the Lovers for you, this makes perfect sense with it being in your 7th house of relationships. Some of you could be beginning a new relationship. Some of you could be having a reset in a relationship. Some of you could even be reconnecting with someone. Some kind of relationship, does not have to be romantic, but with Venus next to the South Node at the time of this new moon, you could be reconnecting with someone from the past, relationship wise, someone you used to have an intimate relationship with, or it could just be that you're connecting with someone where you feel a sense of deja vu and a past life. Regardless of what relationship this is in your life, Pisces, just remember you always have choices. With the Lovers card, you always have choices to check in with yourself if the relationship still aligns with you or not, and what works best for you or not. With Mercury being in the 6th house, it is very important that you pick partners, relationships that are healthy for you, particularly maybe even healthy for your body. Someone who is I'm not necessarily saying they have to be in great shape or anything like that, but someone who does take care of their health and doesn't have someone who looks after themselves so that it doesn't stop you looking after yourself, is what I'm trying to say with Mercury being in the 6th house. Someone who probably is quite focused on living a healthy lifestyle for the most part. Not in an extreme way necessarily, but just someone who is focused on having a healthy life, because Saturn's in your 1st house, so you're very particular about your health. But it can be that perhaps it's also just someone who is healthy for you from a mental health perspective, someone who is good for you, mind, body and soul. That's what I have for you, Pisces, and I'll talk to you soon.